Welcome back. Joshua Shin, with Young Voices contributor, is back with us. Thank you for joining us. You know, I had promised myself that I would not bring this subject up because it irritates me, but I'm going to bring it up because this British citizen had the audacity to go before the UN and criticize the Supreme Court. None other than Meghan Markle's sidekick, Prince Harry. I mean, Joshua, did you hear his implied criticism of this country and Roe versus Wade? I mean, he was lambasted on social media. I just don't understand that. Is he looking for a voice? Is he looking for legitimacy? Is he looking for something to do?
Yeah, the international press was also very interested and critical of his appearance too. There were British tabloids that said that he was trying to relaunch his reputation inside the United States because he is persona non grata in the UK. There was a South African newspaper who also joked about all the similarities between Prince Harry and Nelson Mandela, who he was speaking about, right? If South Africa being a British colony, the newspaper editor wrote that, well, there are so many similarities between the two. They're both in exile, they're both, and Nelson Mandela was just as privileged as Prince Harry was. So it's been laughed at across the world as well.
Isn't that outrageous, Horace?
You know, I don't go to the United Kingdom and say, let me find as high-profile a place and position so I can trash your country. And I would appreciate if British royalty didn't come to America and take high-profile opportunities to trash this place. If you want to stay in your $11 million mansion and you want to keep your royal title, I'll keep my mouth shut as long as you keep yours shut. I was really outraged. One, I don't understand why we host the United Nations, they would invite someone that would take such a poisonous attack on us, and I can't believe that someone in his situation would accept that invitation and do it.
Well, he's controlled by his wife.
Well, so's Joe Biden, but I haven't heard...
Well, Biden needs his wife. I'm sorry. He would be a lost cause if he did not have Jill, so I'm not going to criticize that, because there's no there. Prince Harry is a different story.
Well, it is.
Meghan Markle made him get rid of his hunting guns, actually. So he's already pushed a lot of her personal beliefs onto him, and well, he thinks she's his soulmate. So
she also made him get rid of a lot of his friends, the people that might be able to influence him and help him steer his way back to. What's surprising to me was he was probably the most popular royal, except for the Queen herself, before his relationship with Meghan Markle.
Let's leave it at that. Let me talk to my other guest. What is going on with the Chinese and these military tactics that many within their own country are crying out about?
Regarding the lockdowns?
Yes,
or
Joshua.
The aggressions?
Yes.
Yeah, regarding the lockdowns or the aggression toward Taiwan and Hong Kong?
Because, both.
Okay, yeah, so it's been very interesting to see protests rise up in China. These are very rare, but protesters have been speaking out against the lockdown conditions. Suicide, according to one expert that spoke to the South China Morning Post, said that suicides have doubled or tripled amongst youth. There is an incredible amount of frustration among the Chinese populace about their lockdowns, and they're starting to realize that they're free inside a very controlled environment. And I think that doesn't bode very well for the Chinese Communist Party.
You know, before we move to our next topic with Joshua, Horace, and Bruce, you know, I've traveled the world, and we've been told places not to go, and I must tell you, when we go to those places, there's nothing like what you read from the State Department warnings, what you read about from others, even going to Nigeria. I mean, what you see, particularly even in the headlines of America, doesn't even represent a fraction of how safe American cities and other places around the country. Even if you go to Baltimore, as much as people talk about Baltimore, you still find some of the safest places in Baltimore. What they're talking about is literally less than 2 or 3% of those neighborhoods. So we should always keep that in mind when we think about traveling. You know, the question I want to ask, and I'm going to start with you, Joshua, and I think, because I think it's an important topic, is whether or not the United States have the standing to rebuke or sanction other nations over human rights atrocities. Let me start with you.
Yeah, and to that I say definitely, because America may make a lot of mistakes, but that's because the individuals here have the freedom to try things and learn for themselves. But it only looks like chaos from within, and if you look at small portions, like you said, in parts of cities. But in the bigger picture, our institutions are solid. We survived multiple presidencies that were a little on the chaotic side. We have reliable due process and trial by jury. When you look at other countries, our standard still holds up.
But you brought us back to Joshua's initial point. And I think Joshua was saying to us that we are obligated to point out the shortcomings of other nations, because he's saying, if not us, then who? And who will hold those committing these horrible acts against other innocent people to account and these atrocities? Joshua?
Yeah, so I agree that the U.S. has a need and needs to protect its sovereignty and its power as a nation, because it's what allows us to take a stand for human rights. I'm going to push back on the idea that although we have fallen short, human rights are what we believe every person is entitled to, even if they are or are not American. And if we can be the ones that can speak out based on our principles, based on our Constitution, based on our leverage and economy, I think that's for the best. That doesn't mean that we are the world police, but I still think that people do look to us, right? So when the Hong Kong pro-democracy protest happens, they appealed to the United States. They wrote in English, they had American flags, and the United Nations held a poll in 2021 that said that the U.S. is still the most popular destination when it comes to immigration. I think we have different ideas on what being a beacon of hope and human rights can mean or looks like, but I don't think we should shy away from that role.
You know, I want to thank Sam Faddis and always Bruce Fine, Joshua Shin, Horace Cooper for joining us. And let's never forget, in our criticism of our beloved America, it is the greatest shining light, the beacon of hope, that shining city that former President Ronald Reagan spoke about. And no matter how much you think that we continue to struggle in this economy, there's still Americans who are finding in this economy success and building communities better than before. God bless America, and God bless this world. Thank you so much for joining us.